I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Out of control, you don't know, babe. I'm a danger to myself. Out of control, you don't.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guests, just me. So you guys, welcome, and if you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope that you find it to your enjoyment. I don't know. So to my current subscribers that are back, thank you so much for coming back. I love you guys and appreciate you so much. So as I go into this, I just want to remind everyone, I am bringing, and you can feel free to forward through all of this. I just want to make it very clear that when I do these cases, I go based off of fact and evidence, and I watch the entire hearing. I jot down notes, several pages, hundreds of pages sometimes, and so that I can bring you the facts. What you decide is on you. I am not putting my feelings out there on what I believe and I feel. I am giving you facts so that you can make an educated decision as to what you believe. So if I was going just on my feelings, I might say things a little bit differently, but I'm not. So I just want to get that out of the way, okay? I also want to say again, I'm not Jennifer Crumbly, okay? I would not handle things the way that she does. I'm not James Crumbly, and my children aren't Ethan Crumbly. So when I make any kind of comment about anything that she has done or how I can understand certain things, it's based off of being a parent, but it's not based off of me being Jennifer or feeling the way she feels or handling the things the way that she handled them. I would not. So again, just making that clear. Now let's get into it. So this is a little deep dive into the hearing. I put another video out just kind of skimming over everything. But for any of you that wanted more information, I am bringing it to you now. So let's get on with it. Now, we know that the parents were contacted by the school on the 29th of November. So that's where I am starting this with. This is where it kind of started out. This is part 2 of their day before the shooting. So the teacher, Pam Fine, left a voicemail where in it she stated that Ethan was looking at bullets and that they had had a conversation about it. She ended that voicemail stating that she understood that shooting was a hobby for their family and that it's perfectly normal for some families to have that as a hobby. She said she told Ethan that while it was okay to do those types of searches at home, they were not okay to do at school. And that if Jennifer had any questions about what she told Ethan, that she could call back. Otherwise, everything was good and Ethan was not in trouble.
Judge, this is People's Proposed Exhibit 9. I believe we have a stipulation to 9. This is a voicemail on November 29th.
We do, Your Honor. We just would ask that the entire voicemail be played.
Certainly.
There's a stipulation as to both attorneys. Correct, Your Honor. Okay.
And this is 9.
Based upon the stipulation, the court will go ahead and admit the recording the evidence.
Thank you.
My name's Pam Fine. I'm calling from Oxford High School, and I'm here with Mr. Hopkins, who's Ethan's counselor. I was just calling to let you know that we just spoke with Ethan, had a really nice conversation. One of his teachers had sent an email to the office just that she was concerned because Ethan, when she was walking around the room checking assignments, that he was on his phone looking at bullets and that sort of thing. So she just wanted us to have a conversation. We did. He said he had been to the shooting range with you this weekend, and we were like, yep, guns are a hobby for a lot of people and shooting ranges, and that's perfectly normal. And that we just wanted to make sure I had a conversation with him about the things he searches at school and things versus searching at home. Like Mr. Hopkins gave a good example of like if a teacher makes beer at home, perfectly normal and healthy, but can't be using searches for making beer at school. So we had that conversation. He was great. He was like, yep, I get it. So I just wanted to let you know that we did have that conversation with him, and I don't know, about 5 minutes, and he went back to class. All right, if you have any questions, you can give me a call at 248-572-9565. 248-572-9565. Otherwise, I hope you have a great holiday. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Detective, that was a 1 minute and 25-second audio recording. That was the complete recording from the phone, am I right?
Yes, sir.
There is evidence to show that after this voicemail was heard by Jennifer Crumbley, she immediately texted Ethan and asked him about it. Now, I already talked about this in my last video about the Crumbleys. Actually, it's 2 videos ago about the Crumbleys. So, part 1 of their hearing. So, I won't go into all of that. If you want, I would suggest that you watch those videos first so that you're current with the information that I'm providing, so that you're not like, but this, but that, but that, because it's probably in the other videos. So, these are kind of in order, and this will be added to that playlist. So, and yes, if you want that information, it's there. Now, there were the text messages that went back and forth showing Jennifer's concern and Ethan reassuring her that it was a harmless act. Jennifer also told Ethan in the text messages that they were going to talk about it when she got home. In person, basically, right? Not through text. As you can see by the stacks upon stacks of papers on the defense's desk, there are tons of text messages that have been printed out, and each stack is different conversations with different people. So each of these stacks of paper with the different color, Post-its on them are different conversations, and they're all text messages. One of those stacks are text messages between Ethan's parents. In fact, it's the biggest stack of files on that desk. And in that stack of text messages, there are tons of texts about Ethan between James and Jennifer that mention frequent talks that they had about Ethan, with Ethan, keeping tabs on Ethan, every single day, to be exact. So that whole stack, every single day, had something about Ethan in it and about how they were addressing some kind of concern. There was proof that Jennifer Crumbley had Googled clinical depression on her phone and treatment options. Now, I don't know when that was exactly. They never really said. Because the prosecution used it as a bad thing, that she was Googling this, probably because she didn't end up doing anything about it. But we don't know. But she did Google it, so she obviously was concerned that he may be depressed, and she wanted to know what treatment options were available for him. Unfortunately, the follow-through never happened. There were also many text messages sent between Ethan and his friend Brady. These texts talk about having to hide everything from his parents. He would text about the hoops that he would have to go through in order to hide things from his parents, such as waiting for them to leave and hiding things. There is nothing in any of these text messages to show that his parents knew about anything that he was doing. Only the contrary, because he made sure that they didn't find out. Also, in a lot of these files, there are many texts between Ethan and James. Yet there is not one single text message from Ethan to his father stating that he wanted or needed help. There are no text messages between James and Jennifer, who texted about Ethan every single day, stating that either one of them had been asked by Ethan to get him help or that he thought he needed help. Prosecution brought up the Instagram accounts. And I actually talked about this in one of my Bad Moms Club videos, where I said most kids, and I would be willing to bet all kids at this point because it's just a thing, have a family Instagram account or a regular Instagram account, and they also have a Finsta. They call it a Finsta. It's short for fake Instagram. This is usually an account that parents and family don't necessarily know about, where they can post things that they wouldn't want to post in front of their family. A lot of times the family knows nothing about this. My daughters are very open with me, and I actually have their Finsta accounts as well as their regular Instagram accounts. They do post different things on it that they don't want grandma to see, but it's not super bad. But, Ethan, on the other hand, was posting some completely different things on his Finsta than he was on his regular Instagram, as is kind of the way it works. And while it has been proven that James and Jennifer follow Ethan's main Instagram account, ethan.crumbly, they did not follow his Finsta account, likely because they didn't know it existed. The name on that account was Daddy Vader. So it's not like it was Ethan anything or Crumbly anything or Crumble. Like, it had nothing to do with his name. Daddy Vader, okay? Like, I wouldn't know to search for that if my kid had that as their Finsta and I didn't know about a Finsta. There's zero proof that James and Jennifer had any idea about this account. They didn't like anything on it. They didn't comment on anything on it. They never searched for it. There was never anything found on their Instagram to show a connection to that account. Nothing. So it is kind of fair to say that they did not know about this account. And this is the account that Ethan would post all that weird shit on. The prosecution talked about text messages that Ethan sent to Jennifer, talking about demons and basically the house being haunted, asking Jennifer when she would be home, and to which she never replied. And at that same time, it was found that Ethan sent those text messages. Jennifer was actually on a horse, and photos of her were being taken with that phone, however, not by her. So that is possibly why she didn't immediately respond. She didn't even have her phone. Okay, and like I said, before you think I'm sitting here making up excuses for the woman, I'm not. I said at the beginning, and I'm maintaining, I'm giving you the facts. This is what was brought up in the hearing for you to decide. I will get into what prosecution says when it's their turn, but as of right now, I'm basically, defense was first, so that's why we're going into that. So all of this information is proven and is listed as evidence, so that's why I'm bringing it to you. I'm not saying I feel one way or another. Okay, I just want to keep saying that. At the time these text messages were sent to Jennifer, the photograph, she was on a horse. Well, that would explain why she was unable to answer Ethan's text messages. How is she supposed to answer text messages when she doesn't have her phone? And this is purely speculation, but I feel like I have no doubt in my mind that she didn't respond to that, probably because, and this is speculation, they had already been talking about the house being haunted or something. I don't know that, but what I do know is we all think our house is haunted, and we talk about it constantly. Every once in a while, if I go to Walgreens and I don't take my 10-year-old with me, she will blast my phone, even though she's here with her older sisters and my boyfriend, who is an adult. She will send me text messages about, oh my gosh, this just happened, or oh my gosh, in a short amount of time. And like, I don't respond necessarily because, for one, I'm driving. And then when I get to Walgreens, I'm like, okay, honey, I'll be home in 15 minutes, like, we'll talk about it then. I'm not going to go back and forth on a text with her about our house being haunted. We talk about it all the time. We all feel that way. So it's just something that I wouldn't necessarily have responded to either. But again, like I said, that's taking my family into account. I don't know their family. I don't know if this is like weird for her or if it's normal for her. It makes no difference. I'm just saying, okay? There were messages of Ethan bragging about a Derringer that he bought. And we all know that the Derringer is not the gun used, nor was it the gun that Ethan claimed to be his. However, he did claim that it was in this text message to another boy. He did not pay for it, obviously. He's not able to purchase it on his own. And that was his father's firearm. But he lied, and he said that it was his. And why would he lie? For clout, as they call it these days. I'm not going to veer off topic because I was going to say something else, but he would do it for clout. He would do it to be like, hey, look what I got. Yeah, I got me a gun, especially to the boy that he was doing this with. This boy was very similarly messed up in the head in that way of he liked those types of things as well. So, kids lie. You can't deny that. Kids lie. They'll lie to get attention. They'll lie to fit in. They'll lie to look cool when they feel like they're not cool enough. It's not new. If Ethan had taken more to horses and they bought a horse for him to ride, And when they would be riding as a family, that would be Ethan's designated horse. And they would call it his because they have 3 horses. One is James, one is Jennifer's, and now this one is Ethan's. But technically, they're all James and Jennifer's horses. They are the ones who bought them. They are the ones who are keeping them maintained. They are the ones paying for the, not rent, but, the monthly fees to keep the horse at the stables. They're paying for the vet bills. And Ethan would not have been able to purchase the horse because he's a minor. Now, he would still call it his horse, just like he called the 6 Hour his gun. It is technically not his gun, but it is the one that he would be using when the family went to the shooting range. They have 3 guns, the Derringer, the Caltech, and the 6 Hour. So, and I'm not, before someone makes a comment, I am not saying that a horse is the same thing as a gun. Okay, let's not be ridiculous. I am aware of that. What I'm saying is calling the gun his, simply because that's the gun he would be using when they went to the shooting range, is no different than calling a horse his if that were the horse he would be riding when they went to the riding lessons. Okay, that's it. I'm not saying a horse is the same as a gun. I know that it's not. Okay? You don't need to tell me that. Ethan also texted Brady, "My mom thinks I'm on drugs, and that's the problem." Now, to me, this proves that Jennifer had been talking to Ethan about issues. If she thought that he was on drugs, however, why wouldn't Ethan tell her, "No, I'm not. I'm fucked up in the head. I'm hearing voices. I'm seeing shit. All I can think about is killing people. Here, check out my journal. I'm fucked. Like, help me." She didn't know about this journal. She didn't know about any of the messed up shit that he was doing. He hid that from her, and he bragged about the fact that she didn't know and she didn't see it. He was proud of it that she didn't know. So he may be saying he asked for help and all that, but I almost think he was that good at manipulating that he wanted people to think this. But anyway, like, he was pissed at his parents. So he definitely wanted them to look bad, in my opinion. If things were said to her, how could she have denied that there was a serious problem? If she really knew what was going on, she would not have been able to deny it. If there were some type of proof that she knew about this, like she texted Brady, "Oh my God, my mom found this," and she's not even doing anything about it. You know what I'm saying? There isn't anything like that. So, but again, let's just move on. I need to remind you that while some of this is speculation on their behalf, the prosecution's case against Jennifer and James is very speculative as well. It's speculating that they knew all sorts of things were going on that they should have known, right? If they were providing ordinary care to their son, they should have known about this journal, but they did. They should have read the journal. They should have went into his phone. They should have looked into these things deeper. They should have invaded his privacy. Yet, there's no evidence that they did. Ethan texted Brady about a breakdown that he had. He told Brady, "I started sobbing in the shower and then began laughing. Mental breakdown is what it's called, and it says you should see a doctor if you have one. Google said it can last weeks, so fuck me. Like, I hear fucking people." These text messages are sent to his friend, not to his parents. They are sent to a friend that he wants to be like. He has said to this friend, "I like you because you are like the only person who's as fucked up as I am." He also talks about how they both need to wear a mask and hide who they really are and how messed up they really are. And they wear different masks around different people. And I'm not talking about the mask that we're all wearing because of COVID. I'm talking, the mask where I'm so nice and sweet to you, and to you I'm a total crazy bitch. Okay? Like those types of masks. So there are no text messages from Ethan to his parents saying any of that. "I was sobbing in the shower and I started laughing. I think I'm having a mental breakdown. You need to help me." Nothing. None of those. Yet he would text about demons in the house and the house being haunted That is a lot less severe than if your child were to text you, I'm having a mental breakdown. I want to kill people. I am literally planning it out in my journal. My journal's sitting on the table. I left it out for you. Can you please go look at it? You know, and like I said, this is just me saying based off facts, okay? Ethan tells Brady that he's only slept 17 hours in the last 2 days. But there's record of him playing video games at all hours of the night. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So it's not like he's just up contemplating these things. He's up playing video games. Another text was about the bird head, where he stated, "Holy shit, my mom almost found the bird head. She lifted the sheet and it was fully exposed. I don't know. My heart is pounding right now." Basically, this is saying that Jennifer did not know about the bird head and the bird family that Ethan had been torturing. And not only that, but had she known, Ethan was scared shitless of what the repercussions were going to be if she had. To me, saying that he was used to being scolded for shit that he did wrong. And this was a really big thing. And he was afraid that if she saw that, what would happen? Yet he wanted help. He's telling other people he wanted help. Why not let her see it? If she didn't see it, then why not be like, oh, and make a big deal about it so that she did? You know what I'm saying? Ethan is something else, okay? And he was very good at manipulating his family. And I'm not saying that that makes James and Jennifer innocent. I am not saying that. I am just saying Ethan was really good at manipulation. One of the witnesses, who he also manipulated, was a man by the name of Sean Hopkins, and this was Ethan's school counselor. He testified that he was responsible for 400 students, including Ethan. He said that he had only met Ethan one time over freshman year, and that was a Zoom meeting at the beginning of the year due to COVID. It was via Zoom. He also said that there was a time that he met Ethan briefly and spoke with him after his Spanish teacher noticed that he appeared to be sad. After that, the next time he saw Ethan was November 29th of 2021, the day before the shooting. And this was after he received an email from the teacher talking about him looking up bullets in class. He testified that Ethan stated that it was a hobby and that it's the same, and that's the only reason that he was searching for those bullets. He told the counselor that he and his mom had just been to the shooting range over the weekend and the gun was new and he wanted to look up bullets for the gun for the next time they would go to the shooting range. It was a hobby. It was harmless. Sean Hopkins said Ethan's attendance was great. He had only missed one day his sophomore year. There were no behavior incidences at school. He had no reason to believe that there were issues at home. And the conversation ended in a positive manner, and he sent Ethan back to class. The next day, however, he received another email about Ethan. This was the morning of November 30th, 2021, the day of the shooting. And in that email, it was stated that Ethan had drawn some disturbing things on a math test. Sean Hopkins then walked to Ethan's class to get him and took the test off the desk with him when they left. This was the doctored test. The teacher took a photo of the original, but by the time Sean got to Ethan, he had already scribbled some things out. Sean had also been told about a video that Ethan was watching in class involving a school shooting, though Sean Hopkins has never seen that video to this day. When he asked Ethan about the video, Ethan told him that it was a video game, not an actual event. Ethan stated that he wanted to design video games as a career and that the drawings on the math test were ideas for this video game. Ethan was asked about the sentence on the paper, saying, "My life is useless." And when asked this, Ethan's demeanor changed to sadness, and he began to describe some things that were going on in his life, such as his dog's death, the death of a grandparent, his friend moving away. He talked about how COVID was very hard for him to be in school at home instead of school. It was harder for him. And again, like I said, he talked about his best friend moving away. Now, this best friend actually went to a treatment facility for some mental issues. He talked about an argument that happened the night before with his parents about his grades. After Ethan opened up about these things, Sean felt that it was possible that Ethan was having suicidal ideations, and that is when he made the decision to call Ethan's parents. He felt this way because Ethan's thoughts, patterns, and negative self-talk indicated that he may be headed down a path of self-harm. Sean Hopkins did a risk assessment, which is to check for self-harm risk or risk to others. This risk assessment, he felt there was some risk for self-harm. He asked Ethan whether he should call mom or dad, and Ethan suggested mom. He left a voicemail with mom, and when she called back, spoke to her on speakerphone. He sent her the photo of the math test and asked her to please come to the school. Jennifer said to call James, and this is because she worked an hour away. Whereas James worked locally as a DoorDash driver, he would have been able to get to the school much quicker. The counselor said that he had already tried James. Jennifer said she would try to call James as well, but when she was unable to reach James, she called the school back and said she was on her way. Both James and Jennifer showed up at about 10:30 a.m. Sean recalls that while speaking with Ethan during the time it took his parents to get there, Ethan said, "I can see why this looks bad, but I'm not going to do anything." The meeting was held with the dean, counselor, and Ethan's parents. Sean says it was different than the meetings he has had with other parents. He said the parents provided no greeting to Ethan, and they didn't ask any questions. Jennifer sat the farthest away from Ethan. James sat next to him, but there was no warmth from either parent towards Ethan. Sean said that he provided resources for mental support. He testified that he told the parents it needed to be done today, and if not today, as soon as possible, as in within the next 48 hours. He says Jennifer claimed that today is not possible, I have to get back to work, and that James said nothing. Sean said that in times that he has had situations like this in the past, the parents have always immediately complied. As in, they immediately were like, okay, they took the paper, they took their child, and they went and did this immediately. And that this was the first time that didn't happen. It was also the first time that the parents would come in and not even greet their child. He said he was concerned that they wouldn't comply, and he also said that he didn't want Ethan left alone. He said Jennifer said nothing to Ethan, and not even goodbye or anything, and that James said, you can talk to us. You also have your journal, and you can talk to your counselor. Ethan said he was ready to go back to class. Jennifer asked, "Are we done?" Oh, this woman. Sean testified he was concerned about him remaining in school, feeling that he should be with his parents and getting help. He testified he asked the dean if there was any disciplinary reason that Ethan would need to leave the school and go home. But the dean replied no, he can go back to class. Sean's main concern was that Ethan didn't get anything from his parents that was intended by the phone call made to them, such as support and help and, some type of compassion. His parents, however, being told by Sean that Ethan would be watched closely and not left alone, appeared to feel confident that Ethan would be safe at school. The problem here is Sean Hopkins returned Ethan to class, but never told any of the teachers in the remaining school day what was going on with Ethan, and that he was not to be left alone. He was to be watched. He was sent back to class with a pass to his 3rd hour class alone. He went to lunch alone, and he attended his 4th hour class alone. After 4th hour was over, during passing period, he was alone. He went into the bathroom, and we all know what happened next. Now again, some speculation. Why didn't the counselor suggest Ethan must go home? In my opinion, he didn't suggest that he go home or he did suggest it. Okay, so let me scratch that. He did suggest it. Why he didn't say it has to be done is because, for one, the dean had to make that call, not the counselor. Because the only time they can send them home usually would be for a disciplinary reason. However, they send sick kids home all the time. They send upset kids home all the time. So he definitely could have pushed the matter, but I think he didn't because he felt that Ethan was a suicide risk, right? He did that risk assessment and felt that Ethan was going towards being suicidal, and that sending him home alone was the last thing that Ethan needed. And I don't feel that he trusted Ethan's parents to watch him or be with him. I think he was afraid that if he sent Ethan home, you know, he knew that there were guns in the house because of the day before, and they talked about it. So I think he was afraid that maybe the parents would just take him home and drop him off at home and go back to work. And so I think maybe part of him felt that he'd be safer at school than at home because he's a suicide risk, not a homicide risk in the counselor's mind and in the parents' mind now. So the counselor had zero thought in his mind that Ethan was a danger or threat to anyone but himself. And he is a licensed professional. He is also what is called a mandatory reporter. A mandatory reporter is someone who has a legal obligation to contact CPS if they feel that a student is being neglected, abused, or being withheld medical treatment of any kind, physical or mental. There is even a special form for this. It's a 3200 form. The counselor did not file one of these forms, nor was he in the process of doing so. When asked about this, Sean Hopkins said that he was going to check on Ethan in the morning to see what had been done. If nothing had been done, he would have filed that form. When the counselor initially brought Ethan into his office, Ethan had left his backpack in that second period class. Another teacher retrieved the backpack and brought it to the counselor's office because second hour was ending and third hour was beginning. The backpack that held both the journal that he just became aware of and the firearm were both in the presence of the counselor, yet were not checked. The prosecutor started to ask questions of Sean Hopkins of things that he did not know about Ethan and his living situation, such as him being left alone 3 to 4 times a week for 3 to 4 hours at a time, and that he had access to a gun. The answer to both of those questions was no. Now, I have to interject here, and I'm actually really surprised that defense did not object or interject here, because Sean Hopkins had already testified that morning earlier that he talked to Ethan about the hobby of shooting, right? He had talked to Ethan about looking up bullets in particular. And he knew Ethan had firearms in the home because Ethan told him that the day before, that was a family hobby. And that the bullets he was looking up were for a gun in the home. So to say he did not know Ethan had access to a gun is a lie. Because, and let me just say, if you have guns in your home, your child has access to them. Now, I'm not getting into anything political as far as gun rights or anything like that. I believe that everybody's entitled to own a gun if that's what they choose. However, when you have a gun in your home, and even if it's in a safe and it's locked up, you still have guns in the home. In my opinion, that still makes them somewhat accessible to your child. Kids are smarter than you think, okay? My ex-husband has guns in the house. He's an ex-Marine. He has lots of weapons. He has a big safe and it has a code. He also takes the girls' phones when they're in trouble and puts them in the safe. Well, my 10-year-old follows him to and from every time to get her phone back and to watch her phone be put away. And she came home telling me she almost knows the code so that she can get her phone out. So I had to talk to her talk about that. But I'm saying they're smarter than you think. So he knew guns were in the home. That he did know. And I'm almost wondering if that's partially why he didn't want him going home. So anyway, Ethan told Sean during that conversation the day before, when he was caught looking up ammunition in class, that he had a new gun and went shooting with his mom on November 27th, and that he was looking up ammunition for that particular gun because shooting was a family hobby. I'm sorry, this counselor, I feel so bad for him. He did not do his job thoroughly. The guy had 400 students. This one fell through the cracks. He knew enough to have filed a police report. He knew enough to have stepped in on the parents' behalf and filed that 3200 form. He had enough knowledge to do these things, and he made himself the one responsible for Ethan for the remainder of that school day. You know, and I'm sure it haunts him every second that he didn't say, I'm not going to be responsible for your son for the rest of the day. He needs help, and you're taking him home. It's just an overall, you know, horrible situation. And this poor guy's face, just watching him testify, it's excruciating. He knows. He knows where he screwed up. Now, I'm not saying that this is his fault at all. What I am saying is, just like James and Jennifer Crumbly, he did not foresee the shooting happening, even though he had the exact same information that James and Jennifer Crumbly had. James and Jennifer Crumbly, there is no evidence that they had any more information than what they were told that day. There is no other evidence to show that. Whether or not it happened, I don't know. Whether or not it matters, I don't care. I still think that they screwed up historically. But they didn't know according to any evidence. Therefore, as far as James and Jennifer Crumbly are concerned, they knew just as much as the counselor. No more, no less. Sean Hopkins was made aware that there was a gun in the home. He was also made aware of the journal that morning. Sean Hopkins did not ask Ethan or the parents about either one of these. Okay, so moving on. They had people that worked at the shooting range as well as the gun shop where that Sig Sauer was purchased and where the Crumblies would go when they would go target shooting. Here's a little bit of Jennifer and Ethan target shooting on the day of November 27th, 2021. Now, according to Dylan O'Connell, the office manager, there was a receipt that Jennifer had paid for 30 minutes of range time, 2 targets, 2 boxes of ammo. Personally, I feel like Jennifer was trying to bond with her son here. She had never even shot a 9mm before, and Ethan had to show her how to use it, as you can see in the video. She wanted him to be into horses. She wanted him to be into soccer. She said as much to people in text messages when they asked about her son, or when speaking about her son. In fact, he was in soccer at one point and was going to ref soccer had ref soccer that past summer. So she was trying to get him into what she would call normal kids' activities, but he would refuse. Shooting wasn't Jennifer's hobby. It was James's hobby, actually. Jennifer liked riding. James would ride, but he was more Western rider, whereas Jennifer was a jumper. And I think she really wanted Ethan to enjoy her hobby, but Ethan liked James's hobby, which was shooting. And so for Jennifer to even go to the shooting range with Ethan, I feel like was a big step for her, considering the fact that she never seemed too interested in what Ethan wanted to do if he wasn't doing the things that she wanted him to. You know, like, I really feel like there were things that she wanted him to be into and she wanted him to like, but since he didn't, she didn't know how else to reach him. So instead of, trying to find something healthy to enjoy together, she went along with this shooting thing. And I feel like she was trying to find a way to bond with him, but poor choice of hobby, that's for sure. Looking back on it, at least. You can see Ethan's face while he is shooting that gun. He is ecstatic. The smile on his face, you can see in the video, is not a clear video, but you can see the giant smile on his face as he's shooting that weapon. And if Jennifer didn't think that he was mentally screwed up, she would just think he's happy. But who knows what was behind that smile at that time? I mean, was he just happy and excited, or was he picturing in his mind what he was going to do to certain people? Because this video was taken on the 27th, which is the Saturday before the shooting. So it's chilling, actually. It really is, because I picture that smile is about haha, It is very chilling. Again, that's my speculation. Let me also add that it was testified to that the Crumbleys had only been to the shooting range 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months. So it was definitely not a weekly thing. It was not something where they went all the time. But it was a hobby, so. The next witness that was called is Detective Adam Stoyk from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, and he is the detective that secured the residence before the search warrant was issued. He was there to preserve evidence in the home. So he shows up and makes sure he gets Jennifer and James out of there because they were home at the time, so they can't touch anything or mess with anything, and then he waits there for the search warrant to be issued, and then they can begin the search. He generally described the state of the home as messy, and I have here's some photos of that. There were multiple alcohol bottles in the kitchen, according to him. He said that while entering the master bedroom, in plain view was a gun case on the bed that was open and empty, as well as an empty box of ammunition. Now, James told him about a gun safe in the dresser that had a code to it. So they did have a safe that was locked. However, let me tell you what the code was. 000. Could it be any more simple to figure out? So there's a problem right there. However, the 2 guns that were inside were the Caltech and the Derringer, and they were there. They were both unloaded. No ammunition was next to them or anything in that same case. However, the only box of ammunition found in the home was empty. And that went into the 6 hour that Ethan took to school. There was also a cable lock still in its original packaging, but it was in the Caltech box, which was empty. And the Caltech was in the locked safe box. So it could have been the Caltech's, because Cammie Beck, manager of the gun shop that the 6R was purchased, as well as the Derringer and the Caltech, testified that every gun they sold is sold with a cable lock. So you purchase a gun from them, you are getting a cable lock, as well as being told how to use it and, you know, why you need to use it. So all the weapons, all the firearms that they bought from there would have come with a cable lock. So finding one in a Caltech box when the Caltech's locked somewhere else, not super sus, but anything could have happened at this point. I mean, the fact of the matter is that nobody can deny is that he got the gun. It doesn't matter if it was locked. It doesn't matter if it was hidden. It doesn't matter if it was on the rooftop of 3 houses down. He got it. So, in my opinion, that means it was accessible. So, I do side with prosecution in that aspect. Having a gun in your home makes it accessible. And I'm sure people are going to argue with me, but like I said, I'm not saying that if it's locked up safely and you're practicing everything you possibly can to be safe about it, I'm not saying don't have I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it's still more accessible for a child to get at a gun when there is a gun in the home than if there isn't. Right? Okay, don't come for me, okay? I'm just saying. Now, 3 guns, 3 cable locks. The unopened cable lock was in the Caltech box, yet the Caltech was locked up in the safe. So, the next man who testified was Sergeant Matthew Peschke from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, and he was there to secure the scene for the search warrant of Jennifer and James' home. Here's some more photographs that were taken before the home was searched. So keep in mind, this is before the house was even searched. It was in this disarray. As you can see, the general condition of the home is quite messy, particularly Ethan's rooms. Rooms. Yes, I said rooms. So, Ethan had 2 bedrooms. All of these photos are considered exhibits 59, 60, 61, 64, 65, 66, and 67. In one of Ethan's bedrooms, there was an empty whiskey bottle. There was also an almost empty whiskey bottle of the same brand in the kitchen. So someone was liking their whiskey in that house, and it looks like Ethan may have taken up that hobby as well. There were shell casings, a Nazi coin, mouse feces was left on the left dresser, and this was all in bedroom 1. In bedroom 2, exhibit 69, 71, and 73 show a notebook open on the bed with a drawing of guns, a photo of folding knives on a shelf. Also, the detective talked about a shed that Ethan had filmed himself torturing this bird family, and that it was about 50 feet max from the actual house on the property. I believe prosecution is trying to show that the shed it's not like they lived on acres of land, and the shed was far off, 100 acres away. It was happening 50 feet from the home. However, Ethan did write in those text messages to his friends saying that he did those things. He would wait patiently for them to leave so that he could go out to the shed and do that. So I'm not sure how 50 feet away would make much of a difference. If the parents aren't paying attention to the child, it doesn't matter if they're doing it right next to them in the room right next door, or they're doing it at a friend's house. They're still doing it. And the fact that you are really not that tapped into your child's head is a problem, in my opinion. So the basement had a couple of rooms in it. And this is interesting. And I'm going to put this in here even though it was objected to. But the basement had a couple rooms in it. There was a kitty litter box that was full. There was plastic draped over things in the rooms in the basement. And this was said to be a marijuana grow room. Though this was objected to by defense, and was sustained by the judge, so they did not go any more into this. However, it was found, and I didn't put in here everything that was said after because it's supposed to be removed, so I'm not going to say it, but that up to that point was recorded. So supposedly a marijuana grow room in their basement. The next and final witness was Lieutenant Timothy Willis, and he was a specialist, or is a specialist, in the forensic division and one of the officers in charge of the case. In fact, he is the investigation director of the investigation. He testified that the day of the shooting, he had over 100 911 calls come in about the shooting. Parents called in concerns about their students. Only one of those parents called because they suspected that their student was the shooter, and that was James Crumbly. That 911 call was placed at 1:34 p.m. There was also a text message sent at the same time from Jennifer to Ethan, which said, "Ethan, don't do it." The shooting began at 12:51 p.m. and it ended at 12:58 with Ethan surrendering to police. The journal was found in Ethan's backpack, which was still in the bathroom. It was a hard black covered journal with apartments.com on the front. The journal was 21 pages, and every single page was information about the shooting. I don't know exactly what, obviously, but every single page talked about this shooting. So anyone could have picked it up at any time, and no matter what page they would have flipped to, they would have seen this, is what I gather. And that is just so tragic because, like I said, had he dropped it on the floor and someone picked it up and saw just one page, it would have been enough. It's not like it was hidden in the middle or only written once or twice here and there. It was on every single page. The last entry on the bottom had "Forgive me" in huge black letters. Now, this is what the remainder, or what preceded that. Here's the video of Timothy Willis reading that to you.
Correct.
Okay, and you testify this appears to be the actual last entry of the journal?
It appears to be, yes.
And is this where it has the date on there?
It does.
Okay. What else is on there?
It has it at the very bottom, in big bold letters, the words "Forgive me."
Okay. If you were to flip the page, what did you see there of note?
Toward the bottom half of the page, it says, "First off, I got my gun. It's a SP 2022 6 Sauer 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow, comma, I have access to the gun and ammo."
Okay. Now, you said there's drawings in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, I'm not going to go through every single page here. I'm going to direct you what's been labeled as page 15. As far as drawings are concerned, what do you see here?
It appears to be drawings of two separate bullets. One's labeled a 22, the other one's labeled a 9mm. The 22 next to it has kill range 25 M max, and the 9mm has kill range 100 M.
Okay. If you were to flip the page to page 16, is there a drawing on that page as well?
There is the bottom half of the page, a large drawing of what appears to be a cup with liquid in it, a severed bird head, and what I can only describe as a demon standing drawn next to it.
Okay. Now, is this a little drawing or is it a bigger drawing?
It takes up the bottom quarter of the page. It's a large drawing.
Now, what about on page 18? What do you see on that page regards to drawings?
From the drawing, it appears it's the drawing of a head with where the eye is an X. The head appears to have a ponytail, and then a gun extended, a semi-automatic handgun extended out with a round being fired into the back of the person's head.
Okay. Is there any context to that drawing? Any
Ju-
written context?
Just above it, it says the first victim has to be pretty girl with a future so she can suffer like me.
And you said that drawing of the gun, it depicted a semi-automatic handgun?
Correct.
And earlier you referenced the passage where he says, I have access to the gun and ammo. It's an SP-2022 6-hour.
Yes, sir.
Is that, what is SP-2000? I'm sorry, SP-2022. What is that?
That is the model number of the weapon used in the shooting.
And is that a semi-automatic handgun?
It is.
Okay. Now, if you flip through the journal, are some passages written with larger letters, bolded letters?
Yes.
Okay. If you were to flip the page to page 19, what do you see there?
In the middle of the page, in all caps, I will kill everyone I fucking see.
Is there any context made to that statement?
Just above it, it says, I will cause the biggest school shooting in Michigan's history. And then he goes on to say, I will kill everyone I fucking see. I have fully mentally lost it after years of fighting with my dark side. My parents won't listen to me about help or a therapist.
Okay. I want to refer you back to page 6 now.
6.
And we talked about some bolded letters. And this isn't just a few pages, right? It's throughout the journal. Is that fair to say, the bolded letters?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On page 6, does anything jump out at you?
The word help in bold letters colored in.
Is there any context to that word?
Yeah. In that, right next to help, it says, I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the fucking school.
May I have one moment here?
Repeat it, please. I'm sorry, ma'am.
There is no evidence in this journal that shows Ethan told his mom and dad what he planned to do in terms of that school shooting.
No, ma'am.
And if anything, his messages about his parents are more so ones of, I love you and please forgive me.
Yes,
From
in
what
the
you've
journal.
seen-
Yes.
From what you've seen.
Yes.
On the last page of the journal, so it would be page 22 on what you have, and it's page 795 on what I have. I want to draw your attention to the left side of the page. There's writing written up the side. Do you see where it reads, I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot the school?
Yes.
Now, closer to the front of the journal, Ethan mentions that at another point in time, he has access to the gun and the ammo, correct?
Yes, I believe that's what, 3? Page 3?
On mine, it's page 776. On yours, it's page, 3.
Okay.
Okay, so on that page, he writes, the shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and the ammo, correct?
Yes.
And it does not say in this how he has access to the gun or how he gained access to the gun, correct?
It does not say that.
It does not say how he has access to the ammo or how he gained access to the ammo.
You're correct.
And so from reading his journal, even knowing he had access to the gun, you cannot say that Jennifer or James Crumbly gave Ethan access to the gun.
By reading this journal, you're correct.
There is no way to draw conclusions about what Ethan did to gain that access, correct?
Objection to the form of the question, Judge. Conclusions report the score.
I believe the witness was already answering. I don't think it was confusing. I'm not sure.
I'm going to overrule the objection. That being the question is whether it was confusing to the witness.
Thank you. Now, this journal also, just so we can be clear, was found in Ethan's backpack, correct?
Yes.
And when I say backpack, I'm talking about the bag he used at school that he had the last day he attended Oxford High School, the day of the school shooting, correct?
Yes.
And this journal was found in the backpack where the gun was also located.
No.
Well, the gun was located there at some point in time prior to the shooting. Is that correct?
I don't know what you mean, ma'am. The gun was...
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm asking a really bad question. Let me back up. The backpack had certain items that remained in it. The backpack was found in a bathroom by law enforcement. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in the backpack that belonged to Ethan, that is where his journal was found. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you found the journal in the backpack, you have no other knowledge of where that journal had been other than in Ethan's backpack, correct?
I have no... I'm sorry, miss. Can you repeat that, please?
You don't... So, for example, you can't say this journal was on the kitchen counter at home where someone would have seen it. This journal would have been here or there. All you know is that that journal, when you saw it, was in Ethan's backpack, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So that's about it for this hearing, deep dive. The judge made her decision, but before announcing that decision, she talked about a case, which I talked about in my last video that I made. And this was a case that came about in 2018, where a father who was charged with manslaughter when his daughter shot his son on accident after reenacting a video game scene that they were playing while unsupervised. The gun was a shotgun. It was left in a room, loaded and accessible. His 9-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter used that room as a game room. Therefore, it was reasonably foreseeable that tragedy could have happened. And that is what the prosecution is saying their burden is, to prove that it was foreseeable. And when she brought up this case of People versus Harris, where a person need not be personally aware, but it is apparent to the ordinary mind. Okay? So that's what they need to prove. That is their burden, is to prove that the danger needs to be apparent to the ordinary mind. And the prosecutor has proven this, and therefore they will go to trial. So just to break that down a little bit, they didn't have to know, but it had to... When you would explain the situation to everybody else, it would sound logical that, it was apparent that he would do something like this. Now, they did, obviously the judge has found that, and, I think that there was too. My only issue and my only problem is that there is no solid, hard evidence to prove that they knew anything. Like, there's nothing other than just the fact that most of us think, hello, you were his parents. How did you not know? How did you think he was weird, but you never thought to open up his journal? How did you think he was weird? Or how did you, his friend got sent away to a treatment facility. You never thought to look at his phone to see their communication, but this is all in hindsight. And if you're Jennifer Crumbly and your head is in the sand and all you care about is work and horses and wishing and hoping and praying that your son wakes up one day and is a normal kid and isn't so weird, then maybe you will pay attention to him. Maybe then he will matter to you. Maybe then you won't be so disgusted by him that you can't even greet him and say hello to him or give him a hug or tell him you love him. I don't know, you guys. So the defense also asked to reconsider bond, lowering it to $100,000 at 10%, which would mean they would walk at $10,000 apiece before trial. And, you know, the pretrial hearing has already gone through, and they have now this snapshot of the evidence against them. They were going to flee beforehand. You can't convince me that they weren't. At first, I thought no, but then as all the evidence came out of the cell phones that they had and other things that they had been doing, I do think that they were going to flee. If anything, I think they were definitely holding off, you know, so that they could try to get some things in order, but I don't know. They screwed up. Nobody can trust them now. So of course, judge denied bond, and it's still $500,000 at $500,000. So they would have to $500 for James, $500 for Jennifer, no 10%. Like, so they're in there, and they belong there. Because it has not been proven anything at all. Yes, there isn't much evidence thus far that says beyond a shadow of a doubt, but at the same time, that's what the trial is for, and that's what the trial should uncover in order to sentence them. Now, they are able to be sentenced for up to 15 years in prison. I have to agree that they do belong to serve, or they do deserve to serve some time. They played a huge part in this. Whether or not 15 years, that's up to a jury at this point, and we shall see what happens with that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I hope you don't come for me for some of my opinions, but like I said, I'm bringing you facts so that you can form your own opinion. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. Obviously, we are all different. It doesn't mean that we won't get along. It just means that we have a different opinion. So it's just based off of the same facts, and that's the way it should be, right? There's no problem. There's no problem here. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, please hit the like button if you liked anything about this video, or learned anything, or agreed with anything. Also, if you could subscribe, that would be amazing as well. If not, then, you know, come back, watch me a little bit, and see what you think later. I will talk to you guys in a little bit, probably the next couple days. See ya.